Yeah, we'll get into that whole Nolan Arenado story here in just a little bit. Good morning, everybody. Stink is off this week. He's in Hawaii. Mike Pritchard is not in Hawaii.
I'd say watch your ass.
He's sitting here next to me. How you doing?
I've been to Hawaii. Nice place.
I've never been to Hawaii.
Never? You gotta get on that trip, man.
Yeah. I mean, we've taken some nice vacations, family vacations.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm wanting, but I'd like to try it out sometime.
Well, think about it.
Go see Robin's Nest.
What does
get that?
Stink always say? The juxtaposition of Alaska to Hawaii, like the whole family trip to Hawaii. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we have Mike Pritchard sitting in. Thank you so much for coming in.
Glad to be here,
after your dry run yesterday.
Glad to be here. Absolutely. Dry run. Yep.
Yeah.
Listen to you and Troy. You guys were awesome as usual.
Thank you.
But no, happy to be here, man. This Arenado stuff has me fired up a little bit, but certainly you got the Super Bowl around the corner, not too far, and everybody's talking about Kyle Shanahan and certainly the Broncos and moves that they've made over the last few weeks. I mean, it just makes everything interesting in the sports world.
So how do you feel about the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl? What are your raw emotions?
I actually love it because Eric Bieniemy is offense coordinator of a team that's in the Super Bowl. And I actually love the fact that the 49ers in the Super Bowl because John Embry, the assistant head coach of the 49ers, is coaching in the Super Bowl. He's a tight ends coach, assistant head coach, and I think it's phenomenal for Colorado. I mean, Kyle went to Cherry Creek. You got the ties to Mike. You got everything that you could imagine when you talk about the relations or the parallels or the relationships that are just between these two teams. You know, John Embry has his son Taylor. Eric and John coached together at CU. Kyle, Mike. I mean, Kyle kind of grew up watching Mike Shanahan coach the Broncos at championship. So Colorado will be mentioned repeatedly in the Super Bowl, and I think that's awesome.
Well, we're looking at because we're going to be out. This show will be in Miami next week, broadcasting from Radio Row in the Super Bowl. We're looking ahead to the media night, Monday night, when we're there. And there are all kinds of, like you said, Bronco, local, on the 49ers. DeHuff put a list together. It's just a long list. And then for Kansas City, it just was Bieniemy.
That's it, right?
But
that's it.
We'll definitely be making a beeline for Bieniemy and talk to him and get his thoughts on not only the Chiefs, but also really not being involved at all in head coaching talk.
You know, he was involved, but for the wrong reasons. Like, the whole Rooney Rule thing. I mean, that's now a check the box Rooney Rule. That's not the true spirit of the Rooney Rule. But you look at the front offices, and there's not a lot of support for minority candidates. There's not a lot of support for people that you would think would be qualified and you should interview and really take the interview seriously, as opposed to just checking a box and getting to the guy that you want to hire in the first place. Now, I mean, how do you control these owners and how do you control front offices and how do you stop them from hiring the coach that they want? I mean, I think a lot of times people have people in mind. They hear about them in coaching circles or circles when they meet as GMs and as owners. And, okay, this is the next hot name. But clearly, Eric, as a Super Bowl participant, as an offensive coordinator, I mean, that just pads a resume even more. So I just don't know why you would not hire Eric Bieniemy at this point.
All right, much more on the Super Bowl. We'll get into, would it be better for the Broncos if Kansas City won or lost the Super Bowl? We'll get to that coming up.
Every night's not going to be about Michael Porter. I mean, Michael Porter played fine tonight. He didn't make shots, he rebounded, but this loss has nothing to do with Michael Porter. The Denver Nuggets lost tonight. I don't want every game, every post-game news conference just being about Michael Porter. That's unfair to the other guys and unfair to him as well. Next question.
Get your facts straight.
He had shades of a Gundy there. There was almost like a little Gundy there at the end. Next question.
You know what, though? As a player, you can appreciate your coach stepping
Next
up
question.
For you. Yeah. I mean, stepping up for you, taking the heat, because, of course, Coach Malone is going to get some heat for those kind of responses, and the media might not like that, whatever. But as a player, you can appreciate that.
Well, as a veteran, can you appreciate and start to get a little bit annoyed that all of the conversation around your basketball team right now seems to be just the debate about how they're using Michael Porter Jr. and whether or not they're – now, this was after Sunday night, after they lost. And, well, he made sure, didn't he, Michael Porter Jr., that the talk is once again about him, as he played 30 minutes last night, scored 20 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 of 8 on the threes.
Right.
Had a sequence where swooped down the lane pterodactyl-like and blocked a shot, then ran down the other way and knocked down a 3. Just showcasing this guy's tantalizing potential. Now just please, good health. But if he gets that, there's no reason why this guy can't be a star in this league. So, Troy Rank and I debated this a little bit yesterday. How do you handle a guy like this? Because put yourself in. You know what it's like as a veteran.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you've been in the league for a while, and my guess is, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but my guess is when you're playing on a contending team, there isn't a whole lot of trust among the coaches or even among the veterans when it comes to young players, rookies. So, knowing that, how do you handle this guy in a season in which Western Conference Finals are the expectation?
Yeah, I think the NBA is different. And here's why. Because the Nuggets, they need one more. They're not going to go to the Western Conference Finals with just Jokic and the Blue Era. Yeah, Jamal Murray. I mean, he's banged up right now. So that's just not going to happen. They need one more. I mean, you think about the big three in any location, really, you have 3 superstars or 3 stars at least. And that's when you're contending for a championship. So I think from the NBA standpoint, if I'm a veteran on our squad, I'm helping Michael Porter Jr. out as much as I can. I mean, I need to flatten that learning curve for this young man because, like what you just said, his talent is off the charts. And, okay, health may be questioned, but certainly want more experience. We want to prepare him for what the NBA is going to be in a matter of months because it's going to be different than it is now. Right now, they're coasting through this league, but once you get closer to the playoffs, it's a different game. It's a more physical game. It's a more demanding game. These vets are going to be more demanding on Michael Porter. So I think from that standpoint, bringing him along and embracing him is probably what the NBA, what the Nuggets are doing right now. Other sports, there might be some jealousy. There might be some friction or whatever, but no, not in the NBA. I think from
recognize talent.
Well,
too.
yeah, especially that kind of talent.
Yeah,
that kind of talent can help you win a championship.
Coming up, talked a little bit about it. Let's get into it more. Would it be better for the Broncos moving forward if Kansas City won the Super Bowl? And
That ain't true!
What do the Rockies do? Millennial Ben has a fascination with Mike Gundy. He got to hear the whole rant, I think, for the first time ever, and now he's fascinated with it. What do the Rockies do with Nolan Arenado, who feels disrespected? The $260 million disrespected man. That's next.
Hey guys, start your new year healthier with a quick and easy health assessment. Low T Center. Low T Center treats more than low T levels, including sleep apnea, low thyroid, allergies, and a whole lot more. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have a lack of motivation and drive, have noticed a weight gain and a loss of muscle mass, these could be signs of low T levels. Sleep apnea or even a low thyroid, Low T Center will help you determine the cause of your symptoms and help get you back feeling great. And it all starts with an easy and quick health assessment, and it's covered by most health insurance, and the folks at Low T Center will even verify it for you right there on the spot, guys. Low T, low thyroid levels, sleep apnea can cause you to gain weight, lose muscle mass, raise your cholesterol, have an impact on your mood, a whole lot of other things that you just don't want. So take care of your health today. It's your responsibility. And give my friends at Low T Center a call to get your health assessment. 303-502-9874. That's 502-9874, or find them online at lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
With Mike Pritchard staying in for Stink, who's off this week. Get to this Nolan Arenado feeling disrespected and what the Rockies' response to it is coming up here in just a sec. But, yeah, I think everyone's still trying to get a handle on the idea that the No more can we make fun of them. Well, we can still make fun of the Chiefs, right? If they lose.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because
if they
they're
lose.
there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Showtime!
They're in the division.
If they lose, then we can still mock and ridicule them because they will not have won a Super Bowl since, back in the day. So
they haven't been to a Super Bowl since back in the day.
Right, that's the thing.
Right.
So how should we feel about this? I think it would be a good thing if they win.
Okay.
And let me explain why. Because the Raider rivalry has cooled so much. The Charger rivalry never was. The Chiefs rivalry was always kind of like it was there, but it never truly burned with the white hot intensity that the Raider rivalry did. And so if the Chiefs were to win the Super Bowl, I think now you got your villain back again. You got your clear villain. That's how the fans can get into that emotionally. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, I just think that I know the Broncos' message is that we're Super Bowl or bust. We're all about winning championships here, but I think that a Super Bowl win for Kansas City would motivate these guys, would put these guys on notice even more to have to deliver, to be accountable, for us to be able to look at them and say, hey, look, you got the Super Bowl champions in your division. If they can do it, what are you going to do about it?
Now, it could also backfire, too, though, because the Chiefs could be like, hey, we got one. Let's go get another one. Let's become the next dynasty in the National Football League. And then what? I mean, I've been through that. When I was a Falcon, the 49ers was a dynasty. When I was a Seahawk, the Broncos were a dynasty. I mean, those are not fun to play against. Those kind of situations are not fun to go up against or compete against. And you're right. I mean, it's going to motivate you as a player and as a team to say, okay, that's the measuring stick. That's where we need to get to. We need to reach where the Chiefs are, where the Broncos were, or certainly where the 49ers were. So I think that could backfire a little bit, but help me out here. When was this a rivalry? When did the Chiefs become a rival? Is it because they're the neighbor? Is it because you could ridicule them for so long and finally now they're winning and they're in the Super Bowl, they're appearing in the big game, and it's been a while since that has happened. So maybe you just their little brother kind of situation. I mean, I don't know if it's a rivalry like the Raiders once were, like when Mike Shanahan.
And the Oakland Raiders are no more.
Yeah, I mean, the Lyle Alzado and, throwing helmets. And, I mean, there's history there that suggests there's a rivalry. The only history to me between the Broncos and the Chiefs was a competitive one, when Joe Montana versus John Elway, that kind of thing. You get some Chiefs players like Neil Smith, and they come over and they help the Broncos win the Super Bowl, stuff like that. Or Derek Thomas. Great players that went up against the Broncos. I think that was more of a competitive situation, more so than a rivalry situation.
It puts the Broncos in a position where you got to be better. You have to be better, and I just think it'd be more fun to have them in the division as having won the Super Bowl. Plus, there's also the matter of this: if they win the Super Bowl, do they get a little satisfied? Do guys come to the front office with their hand out now? Let's get paid. Mahomes gets his
$40 million,
$400 million contract, maybe guaranteed, all of it guaranteed. And does that hurt the Chiefs moving forward? Whereas if they go to this game, lose, now do they just come back next year hungry? We got to get back. We're on a mission. We need to finish the job this time. And does that hurt, the Broncos?
Well, the Broncos, they can't sleep on anybody else in the division, too. I mean, the Raiders are going to get better. They just sold out. They just sold out their PSLs in Vegas for the new stadium. The Raiders are armed with money now. They can go out and get people. They can go out and spend money not only from a cap standpoint, but they have cash flow now. So if you're the Broncos, yeah, you're chasing the Chiefs, but don't sleep on that. And then the Chargers, they might be a quarterback away.
A certain six-time
There
Super
you go.
Bowl champion
Absolutely.
quarterback
out there in
away.
L.A., about to play in Kroenke's world. So, I mean, I get it. I know what you're saying. I think the complacency thing with the Chiefs, I don't know if that happens because they're still young enough to where if they win a championship, I think they get greedy. I think they want to become the next dynasty.
This ball's launched by Nolan, left center field, gone.
Rushed.
A home run a day will keep the doctor away. Number 2 for Nolan Arenado.
All right, this Nolan Arenado Rocky situation has gotten ugly. So Jeff Bridich, the Rockies general manager, Dr. Bridich, came out and said that the Rockies are no longer engaging in any kind of trade talks for Nolan Arenado. Bridich saying in a quote, with the season coming up and spring training on the horizon, we're going to start focusing on that. We're going to move forward pretty much as we expected, with Nolan in the purple and black as our third baseman. So we can put this to bed. Well, that sounds like good news, right? Rockies fans can rest easy until you hear that Nolan Arenado, quote, I really don't care what's being said. I just know that I feel disrespected over there. Now, when asked to elaborate on what he meant by disrespected, he said it was more than just about the trade talks. Look, this is a guy, you go back to that, not last summer, the summer before, they had just won a game in San Francisco. It was the middle of June, but they were struggling. And Nolan questioned whether or not he wanted to be here, whether or not there was a commitment to winning here. So, obviously, he was convinced that not only was there a commitment, but there were the dollars to go along with it, $260 million. And I talked about this, and this is one of those cases where I love being right, but I wish I hadn't been right about this, because I said at the time, I said, look, signing this guy to this massive of a contract sounds great, but it won't matter if you don't continue to spend the money and do the things necessary to build and to build around him. Well, that moment has arrived, unfortunately. And this is what the disrespected part means. He feels he was sold a bill of goods, that he was told, yeah, not only are you going to be the guy that will pay you, but we're going to build around you. We're going to give you the chance to win, which is what this guy wants. And I know how this is going to play out publicly, Pritch. People are going to be like, oh, how can a guy who makes $260 million talk about feeling disrespected? Don't people realize that? Doesn't he realize there are real people? This isn't about he feels disrespected. This isn't the guy who's in a contract holdout who says, I feel disrespected by the offer, when we're all rolling our eyes. This is about a guy who I believe wants to win, and he feels like he was lied to. That, okay, we signed Nolan Arenado to this contract, and now, because we've got some other bad contracts that we feel bogged down by and hamstrung by, we're paralyzed. And that's where his frustration's coming from. And I say, well said and amen to you, Nolan Arenado.
Absolutely. He's already got his money, right? I mean, but now he wants to win. And I think Rockies fans should be happy about that. The Rockies should be happy about that. They have a superstar. One of the best players in the game right now that just wants to win. I got my money. I'm good. But what are you guys doing now? What are you doing to help us win? And nothing. We lost 91 games last year, and you guys are sitting on your hands, entertaining trade offers for me. So I agree with you. Like, I've already seen the reaction. Just take your 260 and shut up. Disrespected. How dare you? You are embarrassing yourself or you're insulting the fan. No, he's not. He just wants more.
If anything, he's speaking. His frustration should be how you as a fandom are feeling.
To me,
you should feel as frustrated.
To me, Nolan plays
You should feel disrespected.
Nolan plays this game the right way. Nolan plays this game because he wants to be the best. And that's why he is the best, certainly. He's one of the best Rockies ever. You're thinking about the history of the game. You're talking about Nolan Arenado right now, right? The thing about this, Mike, and the disrespect, maybe he should have said insulted or something. Maybe it's interpreted differently. I don't think that matters. The fact that he signed his contract and put the Rockies on notice. I have a no trade clause and an opt out in 3 years. So you better get your ducks in a row, right? But you guys aren't doing that. So you know what's going to happen? The inevitable is going to happen. we're going to part ways in 2 seasons, regardless.
Oh, well, he'll be gone by the trade deadline.
Oh, well, maybe this year. Okay, if that's the
easily,
case then.
yeah.
So the wheels are in motion, and he can control where he goes now. So you know what Nolan's thinking? Okay, I'm going to a place where I'm going to win. But the Rockies, I gave them a legitimate chance to do what's necessary to help us sustain what we established. Back-to-back playoff appearances, and then that last year you backed that up with 91 losses. You can't say one thing and do another. And Nolan knows this. Nolan's a smart player. Nolan knows this, the fact that organization, the Rockies, they'll pit the player against the fans.
Oh yeah, no. This is right out of the Rockies playbook. They know how to handle this.
And Nolan knows that.
They will absolutely try to turn public opinion against Nolan on a run. And all I'm hoping is that all of you listening who are Rockies fans don't fall for it. All right, coming up next in the Morning Brew, speaking of rivalries, more proof on display yesterday that the second greatest rivalry in Colorado sports all time is dead. Next. Hey, let's say good morning to Brett Iverson from Ideal Home Loans. Folks to turn to for every single one of your mortgage needs. And it's New Year's resolution time, Brent, and I'm sure a lot of people want to get their finances in order for 2020.
Absolutely. A lot of people do, and that's a big goal for a lot of people, and we can help out with that goal.
Yeah, you guys make it easy, and you've got some new technology to help people along the way, right?
We do. We have a new application portal that makes it easier than ever to get a home loan with Ideal Home Loans. You can upload your documents, you can apply through this, you can communicate with your lending specialist. It's one of the best pieces of technology we've ever had. We're very excited, and we're getting rave reviews from our clients about how easy it is and how simple it makes the process and how it can make it quick as well. So to find out more and to take advantage of 30-year fixed rates at 3.75% with an APR of 3.918, call us today at 303-867-7000. That's 867-7000, or apply online at idealhomeloans.com.
Equal opportunity lender regulated by DORA, NMLS 136756. For terms and conditions, call 844-45-IDEAL.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's time for your morning brew.
Things are gonna get weird.
You're gonna eat like me, and you're gonna crap thunder.
Okay, this guy needs coffee and crullers stat.
You know what could really help you sort through these important issues?
What?
Orange mocha frappuccino!
Damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet.
Let's get it on.
I think that's 6 straight wins, second night back-to-back, 6-0 now in our division. And to come in after such a tough loss at home last night and our 3rd straight back-to-back, I think it's a testament to that group's character, their toughness, their grit, and you had a lot of guys step up.
Yeah, there you go. Most NBA teams are crushed by back-to-backs, especially if you lose like they did on Sunday night against Indiana. But the Nuggets, once again, put their depth on display, and it made a huge difference as they bounce back and they win in Minnesota, 107-100. And the story right now with this team continues to be the usage of Michael Porter Jr. How do you handle the inevitable ebbs and flow that goes along with being a rookie? Mike Pritchard in for Stink. And last night, 30 minutes, 20 points, 7 of 12 shooting, 4 of 8 from beyond the arc, 14 rebounds, 4 assists. To me, when he flashes that kind of potential, you have no choice. If you're Michael Malone, you got to put aside whatever concerns you have about playing a rookie and just realize this is a guy that we got to develop as quickly as we can by playoff time.
Yeah, the whole rookie thing, because it's his first year playing, sat out last year, that whole thing. But no, I think when you're ready to play, you're ready to play. Like, you get LeBron James out of high school, you're going to sit him on the court, on the floor, or you're going to put him on the court. I mean, you got a talent like Michael Porter, you put him on the floor, get him that experience, let him get a taste of what the NBA is all about before it turns into the NBA, meaning the playoffs, as you get into June and in that situation. So the league is strong. The conference is strong. They need Michael Porter. I don't know if any veteran on that team with the Nuggets right now are like, yeah, keep him on the bench. We don't want to see elevated minutes. No, I think it's the opposite of that. Get that young man ready to play because we need him down the stretch.
Next on the Morning Brew.
I mean, we wanted to put some points on the board for our team through this 5-game homestand. I think we did that. And at the end of the day, it's going to be nice going into this break and coming back. Hopefully we can continue the success. But, yeah, it's just going to be remaining consistent, hopefully.
Cale Makar and the Avalanche taking care of the Red Wings, who are on pace for a historically bad season. They have 28 points right now, the Red Wings do. And the next closest is 41. That's how bad they are. And so the Avalanche winning yesterday, well, that was a foregone conclusion, but it's just a reminder, isn't it, Pritch, that what I believe is the second greatest rivalry ever in Colorado sports. I think Broncos-Raiders always goes up there at number 1. All due respect, CU and Nebraska. It's close. That one could go either way. You could flip a coin, but to me, Avalanche Red Wings, what that rivalry once was, and to see it at this point, it's kind of sad. I mean, the rivalry effectively died the moment that the Red Wings got moved to the Eastern Conference. Okay, but still, days like yesterday and there being no real buzz around the I mean,
I got you.
Red Wings, Avalanche, I mean, it used to be everything.
But the Avs are so good now that I wouldn't mind a new rivalry established. I mean, St. Louis, I don't know if anything happens with that, but who knows, because those two squads, I mean, we were talking about Michael Porter. I mean, Makar is the same way. Look how the Avs embraced that young man last year. And has benefited into this season. So, no, a new rivalry is okay. I'm okay with the Avs having a new rivalry down the stretch.
Next on the Morning Brew.
This ball's launched by Nolan, left center field, gone. A home run a day will keep the doctor away. Number 2 for Nolan Arenado.
AT&T Sports that right there. So the Rockies say they will not trade Nolan Arenado before spring training, and Nolan firing back by saying he feels disrespected. Now, I know that Nolan would probably like to have that word back, because anybody making $260 million, it's going to be hard to get the public on your side. But let me ask Rockies fans, here's who you basically are forced to choose between. Nolan Arenado, and in this other corner is Jeff Bridich. Jeff Bridich, all Jeff Bridich has done is prove that he is part of the failed Dan O'Dowd model that the Rockies stubbornly have clung to forever. Bridich has built a roster that is bloated and hamstrung by bad contracts that he signed. And he's also shown contempt for the media and, by extension, you, the fans, by basically dismissing any of you having any knowledge of baseball.
Right.
So on one hand, you got Nolan Arenado, and on the other hand, you got Jeff Bridich, and you're telling me people are going to side with Jeff Bridich?
Well,
how can you?
Well, Nolan's disrespect or his perception of disrespect here is probably deep-rooted. Now think about this. Nolan's come through the system with the Rockies, right? What does Nolan Arenado, Matt Holliday, Baldo Jimenez, and Troy Tulowitzki have in common?
They were...
Besides coming up through the system. Besides being all-time great Rockies.
They all got paid.
Sure, but they all were traded.
Yeah.
Matt Holliday traded, 28 years old?
Yeah.
Jimenez was traded. Was he 27? 27 years old? Troy Tulowitzki traded. Nolan Arenado, they are entertaining trade offers at 28 years old. He knows this. He's lived this as he's come through the system. He knows exactly how this front office operates, and it's like, that's disrespectful that you think I'm an idiot at this point. Yeah, I got paid, but I also want to win. And I also can control my future.
Yeah.
So don't disrespect me that way.
Yeah, I would hope that people get what Nolan means by disrespected here and why you should side with Nolan. Okay, this is not disrespected the way you're treating me and how you're paying me. This is disrespected from the standpoint that you convinced me that you were committed to winning and your actions this offseason prove anything but. And that's where the disrespected, the feeling of being lied to, conned, whatever, comes about. Now, $260 million would certainly go a long way towards, smoothing out my hurt feelings, but still, this guy wants to win.
Right.
And I would think you as fans would appreciate that and side with Nolan. All right, coming up next, we'll get to a lot of reaction from you regarding everything going on yesterday around the local world of sports. We'll get to that. Plus, are the Broncos circling the wagons when it comes to Kyle Shanahan? That's next. Hey, for this new year, you got a lot of people who are making resolutions. Maybe you're still keeping them right now. Good for you. As we near the end of January, Siltahar Motors has a great resolution that I'm quite confident they're going to be able to keep. It's 20 and 20. They're going for their 20th President's Award in 2020. They've already won 19 in just the 34 years that the award's been given out in the car industry, which, by the way, these President Awards are national awards, and Siltahar ranks in the top 3% nationwide when it comes to winning President's Awards. They win them because of strong sales, excellent customer service, and tremendous programs like their Zero Down program. Been going strong now for 25 years, this Zero Down program, helping good people going through a tough time with bankruptcy or troubled credit. The Zero Down program allows people to still purchase a car for zero down and no payments for 45 days in almost all cases. So call Siltahar at 720-446-9222 or go online at sthmotors.com. And while you're there, check out their huge inventory. Over 1,800 cars and trucks, from Ford Raptors to the Mustang Mach-E to the Volvo XC90 T8. See why Siltahar is one of the best dealerships around, and reach out to the Zero Down team, 720-446-9222, or online at sthmotors.com. Mike Pritchard in for Stink. Some reaction on the RamosLaw.com text line. A lot of stuff coming in regarding this Nolan Arenado story. This is Ty and Aurora. Jeff Bridich and the Rockies routine is old. I wish the Montforts would sell. Broncos are in the same boat. New ownership all around is needed. I'm with Nolan. Let's get that trending. I'm with Nolan, by the way.
Hashtag I'm with Nolan.
I like that.
That's not bad.
I'm with Nolan.
Well, Nolan sees what's about to happen. I mean, you come up through the system, and you've seen player after player get treated similarly, right? And so he's just trying to get out in front of this, I think, from a player's perspective, because the Rockies will say Nolan's greedy. Nolan wants this. Nolan wants that. The Rockies will pit Nolan against their fans because you know why? The Rockies enjoy one of the highest attendance rates in the Major League Baseball.
And here you go. Right out of that playbook. We got another one. I'm completely on Nolan's side. The management of this team is terrible. They only care about money and not about winning. Mark and Centennial. Okay. That's their off-season strategy. Want to know what the Rockies are doing this offseason? There you go. So, Dick Montfort responding to one of our listeners, who is a Rocky season ticket holder, about the whole bit about disrespecting him.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what Dick Montfort emailed back. No, tell me how we disrespected him. Didn't want to go to arbitration. We saved him of that. We discussed long-term deal. He wanted to do it, and we made him the highest contract ever. He says now it isn't trade rumors. Where did we disrespect him? I provided him a plane so he could come back night of All-Star game. His teammates wanted to stay. They had to come back. Where did he disrespect him? See, that's the classic Dick Montfort way of looking at things. He equates respect or success with the kind of things that we as baseball fans, we don't. He looks at, what do you mean I don't care about my fans?
Right.
Look at the party deck we built. Look at this beautiful stadium we have. And that's his first reaction when talked about, well, what are you talking about? We got him a plane.
Sure. Yeah, the material stuff or money.
Or
money.
the money, right?
Yeah, because fans can relate to that. Fans understand when he fires back an email that way, the only thing that fans know about or hear about is the financials.
Yes.
They don't hear about, the commitment, the sacrifice, and the drive that you have as a player to be the best. Like we all want to get paid as a professional athlete, and once that's taken care of, all you want to do now is win. You want to be on that stage. You want to hold that trophy. You want to put on that ring. You want to be a champion. To hell with the plane, to the money and all that stuff, but that's what you think about because that's all you're about is money.
But you know what, in this case, I think in a lot of other situations, those words from Nolan would backfire on him, that the public sentiment would be, hey, man, you're a $260 million. You just shut up and play baseball, right?
Right.
But in this case, the Rockies management has created so much ill will over the years and so much lack of trust from the fans out there that I think in this case they're going to be more inclined to, because even though I think Nolan might like to have the word back, disrespected, I think fans recognize that no matter how much Nolan Arenado gets paid, the man loves to play baseball and he wants to win at baseball.
Right.
So much so that I think he puts so much pressure on himself sometimes that it's counterproductive because he wants it so badly.
And fans respect that, and they can relate to that, and they can ignore the money. Now, there's some media and some fans that will chirp back and say, oh, take your 260. I can't believe you're saying you're disrespected. Kind of side with Montfort. Kind of side, well, they're giving you everything you want. No, they're not. He wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
You guys lost 91 games last year, and you didn't do anything, or you haven't done anything so far. In fact, you might even trade the guy. So,
he will be traded.
Right. So if he's traded, okay, Colorado Rockies 1-on-1. Let's pit the player against the fans so we can maintain our great fan base and they'll still come out to ball games.
So while we're talking about circling the wagon, spin control, whatever, building a case to make yourself look good, are the Broncos doing the same thing in regards to Kyle Shanahan? Now, Troy Rink was sitting in for Mark yesterday, and we debated the whole bit about it looks awful that the Broncos picked Vance Joseph over Kyle Shanahan, but it's much more multi-layered than that. It's much more complex.
It's mind-boggling.
But on the surface, the optics don't look great, and this is what Mike Kliss sent out recently in talking about why the Broncos went with Vance Joseph. Quote, Elway wrestled with the decision. Kyle Shanahan blew away the search committee during his interview in Atlanta, where he was the Falcons' offensive coordinator. Elway picked Joseph, though, in large part because he believed his temperament and personality were a better fit to lead a locker room that at the time was full of large personalities such as Aqib Talib, Emmanuel Sanders, Chris Harris Jr., Brandon Marshall, Von Miller, and C.J. Anderson. I don't buy that for a second. I don't think it had anything to do with egos. I think it had everything to do with that Kyle Shanahan was in a position to ask for a lot.
Okay.
He was in a position, based on what we saw, what he got in San Francisco, he was in a position to pick his own general manager. Let's make sure everyone's clear about this. John Lynch was hired by Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan had complete say in who they were going to draft, what his staff was going to be, and he wanted to have some of that same kind of influence here. Now, he would have taken the job here if it was offered to him, but it wasn't offered to him. Why wasn't it offered to him? It wasn't offered to him because the Broncos and John Elway did not want to basically give up some power, give up influence.
Right, but there was also a little bit of history because when Gary was here, I think Vance Joseph was in the running to become defensive coordinator, and then Marvin Lewis wouldn't let him out of his contract or something like that. He was supposed to be here at some point. It came about later when he became the head coach. Now, I don't know if that had anything to do with not hiring Kyle. Obviously, there's other factors into why they didn't hire Kyle. But this is trying to circle the wagons absolutely 100% when you're coming up for reasons like this to why you didn't hire Kyle Shanahan. To me, I always thought that if you're going to use this blueprint, the blueprint that's been the most successful blueprint in Broncos history, when you talk about 3 Super Bowl titles, that blueprint has involved John Elway, Gary Kubiak, or a Shanahan. Certainly, Mr. Bolin led the way. But now you're trying to follow that same blueprint with clones. I mean, Scangarello is not Gary Kubiak. He is not Mike Shanahan, and he's not even close to Kyle Shanahan. But yet you were trying to make it work with that, as opposed to you had Gary here. Why not set aside egos and make it work on the field, right? I mean, that's what you want. You all want a championship. You all want to win. The Kyle Shanahan thing is the same thing. If you want to use that blueprint that's been highly successful around here, then hire the man.
But you gotta give up some power, some influence.
Do that. Forget your ego.
Come on,
win.
Well,
right?
that sounds good, but remember now, and remember, people need to factor this into the conversation. When the whole Vance Joseph, Kyle Shanahan decision, John Elway was 1 year removed from winning a Super Bowl.
I get it.
And that year they went 9-7. And if not for a play here or there, easily could have been in the playoffs. So it wasn't like there was a huge clamoring for John Elway to give up power, give up influence just to get Kyle Shanahan in here.
I understand that, but didn't John do that as a player? When they won Super Bowls, didn't John Elway take a backseat to Terrell Davis? Why didn't he could forget his ego then, right? Didn't Peyton Manning take a backseat to Gary Kubiak in his offense? If the greats as players, you can forget and put aside your ego because you want to win a championship so bad, how do you forget about that now that you're in the front office? You shouldn't have, and that's my whole point. If Kyle blew you away during that interview, you should have hired him.
Not if you're going to have to give up power.
But he already did that as a player, which that's mind-boggling, the fact that he didn't do that or he doesn't do that as an executive.
All right, we'll continue to debate this. Also, I want to get your thoughts on Pat Shurmur and whether or not you feel talk about talking to somebody with an agenda here, whether or not the Broncos should go out and target wide receiver in the first round. And Michael Porter Jr. continues to put Michael Malone in a very tough position. That's next.
Hey guys, you live with back or neck pain, you're worried about needing surgery, you don't want to go through that, you just want a second opinion, see if there might be some other options. Well, I've got one for you. Call my friends at Spine One today. They can see you today. 303-367-2225. Their doctors take a comprehensive approach to spine care. Now they offer no-cost MRI reviews. Bring in your existing MRI. They'll check out that image and then provide a treatment plan. They'll check that image out at no cost to you. Guys, I'm telling you what, I saw them about 3 years ago, completely changed my life. I was out of the gym, quit playing golf, saw my friends at Spine One. They got me back in the gym, back playing golf, and I tell you what, I feel great again. That's Spine One. They can make the difference for you. Call them, 303-367-2225. That's 303-367-BACK. Or, as always, you can find them online at spineone.com.
All right, good morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your 3-day weekend if you had it. Mike Pritchard staying in for Stink, who is in Hawaii with the family. Getting a little R&R after a long grind.
How do you think
Ocean
Stink
breezes
on the beach? You think he like
I don't know. I'll find out next week.
T-shirt and shorts, Bermuda shorts, or he's not doing the Speedo thing, right?
No. God, no. God, no.
Well, you know,
Please, no.
You're his
Although he did mention that there is a nude beach out there in
I'm taking the shirt off.
Hawaii that he's
How
aware
did he
of.
find that?
I don't know.
You can't just Google nude beach
Don't
in
want to
Hawaii,
know.
can you?
Don't want any images to pop into my head. I don't want any images to pop into anybody listening. Their heads. No, we don't want to do that.
I'd say watch your ass.
Move right along.
Well,
I do know on Sunday when he got there, I asked him, how you doing? How's Hawaii?
Right.
On the beach? He goes, I'm in my hotel room watching football. I'm like, so what you're saying is this Sunday is no different than any other Sunday that you spent during the football season.
You're just in Hawaii.
You're
Now,
just-
as his on-air husband,
Yes, yes.
you should know how he would roll on the beach in Hawaii. You know, paint the picture for the listeners here.
Well, first of all, he would definitely do all he could to show off his upper body, which is still pretty impressive. The man is yoked. Okay, there's no doubt about that. Spindly legs though, so I don't know how he would do that because
he's got to cover those up.
It's just a weird look. Maybe he's wearing sweats on the beach with no top. I don't know. Maybe he's like wearing gray sweatpants and just the top is off.
Is he trying to channel his inner Dwayne Johnson?
Maybe,
you
because,
know,
like I said,
how the Rock
yoked up
rolls
top and turkey spindly legs on the bottom. But,
right.
Yeah, he's probably. I'm sure there's a little bit. I could bet that the chest is puffed out a little bit.
Okay.
As he's walking.
Any
along the
activities
beach.
for Stink?
What do you mean, like playing beach volleyball
well,
or something like that?
I mean, there's a lot to do in Hawaii. From a bunch of activities, right? You can hang glide, right? You can go hiking.
Yeah.
You can
on a helicopter ride over a
and-
volcano or something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure. Well, we'll find out what he's doing.
Okay.
We'll find out what he's doing. Lot to get to with the Nolan Arenado story that's blowing up. We'll get to that in a bit. But I'm curious. This is the first time I've had a chance to talk to you since the Broncos made the switch to Pat Shurmur as an offensive coordinator, and I'm wondering what your overall views are about the idea of them losing continuity. That, you know, for a young offense, a young quarterback, moving on from Rich Scangarello, going to a whole nother offense, an offense which is, in theory, if we go what Shurmur's done in the past, is much different than what the Broncos have been doing, and maybe the personnel that they've put in place with the idea of running one kind of offense. What does that mean now going to something different?
Did they establish continuity? Help me out here. 3 quarterbacks throughout the whole year? What continuity did they have offensively this year?
The final 5 games. All that.
The final 5 games
the
against
final 5 games.
Some of the worst teams in the National Football
League. Is that what you're going to do? You're going to shoot holes in 4-1.
Well, wait a minute now.
Wow.
What happened against the Chiefs? Was there continuity in that game, or did they look like they were dysfunctional out there? Don't give me the snow either. Don't give me the cold weather either. It didn't affect the Chiefs.
Well, come on.
Showtime.
You got to put the whole Chiefs thing on a.
No, I don't.
Up on a shelf.
I don't.
They've lost 9 in a row to these guys.
They scored 9 points.
They got
in 2 games.
53-9.
They scored 9 points
9 times.
When I'm speaking of continuity, it's not from the standpoint of, you know, are you giving up valuable continuity that will allow you to beat the Chiefs next year? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just being able to win 9 games and compete for a wild card next year. That's my idea.
That kind of continuity. Okay, the bar is that low.
Yeah, it is. Well, some would say it's higher now than it's been in a long time.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's above 500. That's raising a little bit higher. Yeah, I don't think the Broncos have had continuity, and that's been their problem. You know, 5 different offense coordinators in 5 years, that doesn't help. But I think everybody's part of the problem because you're not getting better. You know, you can point to 4 and 1 in the last 5 games, but it could have been 3 and 2. And then what? Who else is fired if it's 3 and 2? I mean, that's a legitimate question, right? If they would have lost that game against the Raiders, if Shelby Harris doesn't get his mid up there and they lose that game, the way that they lost that game at home, who else is fired?
I'm not sure.
They're that close to finding out, though. And so, to me, I appreciate the sense of urgency that you've recognized that your offense needs to be better. You need to be coordinated better. Certainly, your in-game adjustments need to be better, and your output needs to be better. So if you want to address that, then address it. And if you think Pat Shurmur is an upgrade, then do it. There's no difference than making an upgrade over Joe Flacco to Drew Lock, right? Do it. So in a results-oriented business, I'm not mad at the fact that you get one chance. And if you don't prove yourself, then you got to move on. The sense of urgency is what I think Broncos country has been clamoring for. Forget the complacency thing. Forget that you think you're good. Go out there and prove it. So this is an upgrade. Rich Scangarello, for however long it was going to take him to learn to be a better play caller, I don't think the Broncos were willing to wait for that. So let's expedite it. Let's speed up the process, and let's hire Pat Shurmur and let Vic Fangio. I feel confident that I can leave the offense to Pat Shurmur, and I'm going to take care of this defense now. I think ultimately that's what Vic Fangio wants. I don't want to babysit the offense. I want to make sure that the offense is in good hands. And Pat Shurmur, he feels confident that the offense is now in good hands with this guy.
Coming up, are you Team Nolan or Team Breitich? After Nolan says he feels, quote, disrespected. We'll get to that. And has Michael Porter Jr. painted Michael Malone into a corner? A good corner, but painted into a corner nonetheless. That's coming up next. So many of you may have missed it with the holiday and everything, and the fact that you can't watch the games on TV. But Sunday night, the Nuggets lost to Indiana, and the kind of honesty that we love from our newsmakers, right? The kind of honesty that you want it revealed, because so often all we hear are cliches and just, a lot of, John Fox speak. But Michael Malone, after a tough loss, a game on Sunday in which they got outscored 41-26 in the fourth quarter, was asked about Michael Porter Jr., who did not play the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. And here's what Michael Malone had to say.
Every night's not going to be about Michael Porter. I mean, Michael Porter played fine tonight. He didn't make shots, he rebounded, but this loss has nothing to do with Michael Porter. The Denver Nuggets lost tonight. I don't want every game, every post-game news conference just being about Michael Porter. That's unfair to the other guys and unfair to him as well. Next question.
Oh, next question. He threw out the next question.
Next question.
I'm done with this topic. Well, sorry, Coach. Sorry, because...
Is that like take the L on the way out?
Well, kind of, yeah. This is his most notable quote since then. And the fact is that for a fan base that just went through Drew Lock and the whole debate about, well, when are you going to play him? Well, what are you waiting for? Come on. We all want to see him. There's been that same debate circling around Michael Porter Jr. But what's different about this is that with Drew Lock, it seemed like an absolute no-brainer because we all understood the season wasn't going anywhere. So what are you waiting for? Whereas with Michael Porter Jr., it's up against a season with very high expectations. Western Conference Finals or bust. And so can you sort of sympathize with Michael Malone, the idea that, hey, wait a minute, come on. Our stakes that we're playing for are much, much higher, and this is much more about Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Will Barton than it is about Michael Porter Jr. Come on now.
Let me ask you a question.
But when you then see him follow up last night,
right,
and bounces back with a performance in which he has 20 points and 14 rebounds and 4 assists in 30-plus minutes of basketball, is this another case of, once again, the fans and the media have it right?
Well,
that, come on, play the kid.
Sure, right. I get that. One thing, first of all, it's a concern when you allow 41 points in one quarter, though. I mean, there's a concern there. And it's not about Michael Porter Jr. There's a defensive concern there. I mean, something happened, right, that you have to address and you have to fix. And maybe that was on his mind. I'm not making excuses for Coach Malone, but maybe he wanted to talk about that. If he had to address anything, he would like to talk about that. But I want to know if the Eagles, and I have to ask you this question, the Nuggets, I want to know if the Nuggets can handle a superstar. I'm talking about a young player like this that's being compared to Kevin Durant already.
Yeah.
Now, Nikola Jokic, he's a superstar, but he's come into his own and he's gained and earned that clout. And so everybody knows that already. But Michael Porter Jr. is that guy. And the Nuggets haven't had that guy for a while. And I
have to go back to Melo.
Yeah, I wonder if they know how to handle that. Like Melo as a young player, all kind of questions. I mean, who cares if you lost to Indiana? Melo, what's going on with Melo? What's going on, right? You had superstar Iverson or whatever. The attention was on those type of players. The Nuggets have that with Michael Porter Jr. potentially, and it's trending that way.
I don't think it's a case of them unsure of how to handle how big he could become.
But the media wants that attention. The media has questions. To hell with Indiana. We don't care about that game. We want to know about Michael Porter Jr. And as an organization and as a coach, you're going to have to figure out a way to talk about that.
But to me, it's more, he looks at it, Malone looks at it and says, to me, the story is if we're going to if we're going to go to the Western Conference Finals this year, we can't be giving up 41 points in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And I don't if I've got a quarter in which we clearly can't stop anybody, and I already have a kid out there that, as much as I like his offensive potential, I don't really trust him out there defensively in a quarter in which we can't stop anybody anyway. So I think, to me, the biggest issue for Malone becomes how much is he willing to trade off his concerns that he has about Porter's game, and how much he's willing to play into the potential and the possibility of what he could bring offensively. Because my stance on the Nuggets is crystal clear. I don't think they have enough difference makers to go deep into the playoffs. I don't think you can out-depth your way. You're not going to Mason Plumlee, Malik Beasley, Monte Morris, Michael Porter Jr. your way, or Jeremy Grant your way to the Western Conference Finals. You need difference makers. And I don't think they have enough difference makers beyond Jokic. Sorry, Jamal Murray and his $170 million contract, too up and down for me. But when I look at Michael Porter Jr., I see the potential to be dynamic enough to perhaps make a difference in the postseason. But in order to tap into that, you have to be willing to hold your breath and sacrifice some of those fears that you have about what he can bring. All right, we'll debate that more as we move along. Love to get your thoughts on the RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043. The other big story today is Nolan Arenado. He of the $260 million contract. And Jeff Bridich came out yesterday and said, we are not going to trade Nolan Arenado. We are getting ready for spring training, and he's not going anywhere. Now, you would think that'd be music to Rockies fans' ears. Not to Nolan Arenado's. He came out and said he, quote, feels disrespected by Jeff Bridich and the Rockies. Now, the implication here is he's not disrespected by his contract or anything like that. He signed with the Rockies because he was told that even with the $260 million contract, that we will continue to build around you. And I expressed serious concerns at the time when they were getting ready to sign him, said, look, this deal is great only if you continue to invest in the ball club. And if you don't, then it's not worth it, and you probably should just trade him. Well, that day has come home to roost, and here we are. The Rockies are quibbling over $750,000 with Trevor Story in arbitration, and the Rockies are trying to spin the idea that, what do you mean? We gave him this contract, and we avoided arbitration, and we gave him a private plane after the All-Star game. But whose side are you on? Are you on Team Nolan, Mike, or are you kind of seeing the Rockies?
I mean, I'm always team player because I know how organizations work. It's unfortunate. You would think when you have this type of talent and he wants to win, you would do everything possible as an organization to win. You were in the playoffs back-to-back seasons. Took a step back, actually fell back, 91 losses last year, and now you're sitting on your hands. You're entertaining trading Nolan Arenado. Let me ask you a question, Mike. Nolan has a no-trade clause in his contract. If you're the Rockies, why are you trying to entertain trading the guy? That's
a good point.
Instead of helping out your roster right now. Wow, what are you doing?
Well, but that's a very telling comment right there. For a guy who's a no-trade clause, why? Because you know he'd be open to it. You're not worried about him shooting down a trade because you already know he's unhappy by your lack of inaction.
Has Nolan initiated that, though? You look at the teams that are rumored in these trade talks. It's St. Louis, it's Chicago, it's Atlanta, and Texas.
You don't come out if you're Nolan Arenado and say, I feel disrespected by what the Rockies have done, if that is a feeling that you have kept to yourself all offseason. Of course the Rockies know about his discontent. Mm-hmm. Of course the Rockies know that he's frustrated by what we're all frustrated by. An offseason that has seen them do nothing.
Right, but instead of doing more, you're entertaining trading your best player when he has a no-trade clause. What do you? That's like banging your head against the wall, right?
It is.
Because he can turn down anything that you come up with unless he likes it. Now, there's rumors, there's talk that the Rockies are not really trading Nolan because they're asking too much, and nobody's going to agree to something like that. Now, there's a situation in Chicago, though, with Chris Bryant, who's got a grievance because of what the Cubs did with him to try to retain his services or have him in this arbitration situation where he doesn't want to do that. Now, they circumvented the rules to get to this point, and Chris Bryant has that grievance. Now, he's in the outfield now, certainly, played third base before, But you're talking about when you're talking about the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Braves. I mean, you throw in the Rangers, but those teams are part of this trade talk. I mean, I wonder who initiated that, and then also, why are you doing that in the first place when the guy has a no trade clause?
A, because you know he'd be open to a trade, so you're not worried about the no trade clause. He'd agree to it.
But
B,
where would he want to be traded, though? Ask yourself that question, and then why aren't the Rockies talking to that team?
I don't know if he has a specific team in mind. I think, but those teams that you just mentioned, though,
right?
They're teams that either we know have proven in the past are committed to winning,
Mm-hmm.
or want to become winners now and are prepared to spend. I think the Braves fall in that category, and the Rangers fall in that category. So I think that's what you're looking at there. And as to why you would trade him, because if he's not happy and you got a chance to unload $260 million contract, I mean, understand the Rockies' motivation to do this is this all stems from them making bad moves.
Right.
And so now they have said, well, we're hamstrung. We can't do anything, which now the domino effect.
But who has the leverage, though?
Well, Nolan has the leverage because he can
feel,
ultimately opt out.
Right. Wouldn't you feel disrespected if you know you have the leverage and here's a team that's talking to other teams? It's like, well, what are you doing?
Well, my
anything.
disrespect comes from the standpoint that, wait a minute, I want to be here, but I want to be here to win.
Mm-hmm.
And you're promising me that not only will you sign me, but you will continue to go out and do the things necessary to win. And now I'm watching like everybody else is an off-season in which you're sitting on your hands doing nothing. You lied to me. So you can come out and say, I feel like I've been lied to, or I can feel like I've been insulted, or I can feel I've been duped, or in his words, disrespected. It all is the same thing. You know, he was told one thing, they're doing another. And he should be mad, and you as fans should be mad. 4 Down Territory is coming up next. The Broncos circling the wagons when it comes to Kyle Shanahan. What are they saying? We'll tell you next.
Down territory.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. They said yes. Get your big butt out of here.
We're on to Cincinnati.
I'm here so I won't get fined.
Do you want to lose? I throw, you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
On Sports Radio 104.3, The Fan. First down.
Here's a gun run handoff to Tevin Coleman, second level, 10, 5, times into the end zone. Touchdown, San Francisco.
49ers radio, Tevin Coleman, who was amazing in the 49ers win against the Vikings a couple weeks ago, has a dislocated right shoulder, but expectation is that he should be able to play in the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. But after watching Raheem Mostert do what he did, 4 touchdowns, does it really matter? Or in order for the 49ers to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs offensively, do they have to have that multi-headed running back stable that they love to use and ride the hot hand and provide all the different matchup nightmares for defenses as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at their running backs, Tevin Coleman, Mostert, and Breida, even all those guys are explosive players. They're all explosive guys. Like, whether it's a passing game or the running game, it doesn't matter. What's key is the fact that the offensive line got healthy. Down, when you get deeper into the schedule and you have injuries like the 49ers had, you get McGlinchey back, you get Staley healthy, you get those guys back, and those are the guys that are paving the way for the running backs in the scheme also. But Kyle Shanahan has been so creative with the running game. I don't know how you catch up to it at this point. If you're Kansas City, what do you prepare for? Do you prepare for inside zone? Do you prepare for outside zone? Do you prepare for gap? Do you prepare for counter? Do you prepare for reverses? I mean, you can't prepare for everything, right? So Kyle has this element of surprise with this offense that he's created that is going to be tough for Kansas City.
Next in 4-down territory.
Second down.
He's excited to even be in that conversation, and if the Bengals do draft him, he's going to be happy, and he'll look at it as a challenge, but he'll be confident that eventually they can win a lot of games there at Cincinnati. But the Ohio people are ecstatic about the.
That's Jim Burrow, Joe Burrow's dad, who said, "Yeah, my son will be fine playing for the Bengals." So check this out. Tell me if this isn't so Bengal. Bengals Director of Player Personnel Dick Tobin disputed an ESPN report that Cincinnati would not trade the number 1 pick in the draft, saying that the report was, quote, news to him. Now, this is why this is so Bengals. Because in any other case, a team would go out of its way to refute a report that said that they were going to trade the pick. They're almost like, hey, wait a minute, whoa. No. We don't want to rile up our fan base think we're going to trade away the number 1 pick. Oh, no. No, but the Bengals actually refute the report that says they won't trade the number 1 pick. Hey, we want to let it be known to our fans. There is still a strong chance that we will trade that number 1 pick. Yeah. I mean, is that so Bengal or what?
Totally. Like, at what point do you want to be open for business with this number 1 pick when Joe Burrow can immediately help your football team? Like, what can you get in return from another team that's going to, 1, help you win sooner, and then 2, appease the fan base? If you do not draft Joe Burrow, people might not show up. I mean, if I was a Bengals fan and they do not draft Joe Burrow, why would I go to a game? Why would I spend money on tickets? I don't want to go see that.
Right.
I wouldn't want to go see that.
I would. At this point, I would want to be pumping up my fan base by saying, yeah, this is our guy.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Print jerseys now, and I think they are. Somebody is. They want to anyway. But no, I mean, Burrow's got to be that pick. You're moving on from Dalton. You moved on from Marvin Lewis. You're trying to help out Zach Taylor. So, yeah, give him a quarterback that he can work with.
Unless they just want to move down just enough that they can still get Chase Young, Ohio State Buckeye.
I still think the fans would be mad.
I know I would if I was a Bengal fan.
Right.
Then again, if I was a Bengal fan, please put me out of my misery. Next in 4-down territory.
Third down.
Here's the snap. Tannehill looking left, throws that way to Ferguson. It's tipped and picked off. And Whitney has it. He's running across the 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, right sideline, the 50. He's being chased, the 35, 30, 20, 15, 10, and knocked out near the 10-yard line.
Texans radio. Some interesting moves going on. A couple of well-known defensive coordinators moving on in the NFL. As Romeo Crennel is out as the defensive coordinator in Houston, they're going to promote from within. And Dean Pease is retiring for a second time as the Ravens defensive coordinator. So, hey, look, the Ravens' future looked absolutely limitless and unlimited potential, but another disappointing showing in the playoffs. Now you're losing your DC. Concern about just how open that Raven window is right now?
Well, you talking about the AFC opening up big time too, though. If you're the Broncos, I mean, get right. It's time to get right. It's time to eye the playoffs now, because I think you're going to have, okay, New England, they're in flux. You don't know what's going to happen with Brady. Houston, they're in flux. In Indianapolis, the Colts, they haven't really settled on their quarterback situation. Jacksonville, Tennessee. To me, Tennessee is a team that has Vrabel.
Excuse me, back up. I got my P's timeline confused. He's been with the Titans.
Right, I know what you meant.
Excuse me.
I know what you meant.
I know, right.
I know what you meant. But yeah.
But, okay, Ravens and Titans.
Well,
Derrick Henry's a free agent, so for both these teams.
Quarterbacks are free agents too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is a time for the Broncos to get right.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Titans, Vrabel, he should be able to help out that situation from the defense standpoint. But, yeah, Houston, Romeo Crennel, we heard about Wade Phillips earlier. It's in with the new. I mean, the league is a young players league, and now coaches are representative of that as well.
Next in 4-down territory.
4th down.
Lindsay into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver.
All right, so naturally, with the 49ers going to the Super Bowl, there is plenty of conversation out there that, wait a minute, why isn't Kyle Shanahan the coach of the Broncos? Kyle Shanahan blew away the Broncos in their interview. Shanahan has said that he would have taken the Broncos job if it was offered to him. Instead, the Broncos went with Vance Joseph. We know how that all worked out. So how about
Mike, I really don't care.
How about the Broncos PR machine spinning into action as Mike Kliss came out and said that part of the reason that they went with Vance Joseph was because of the outsized personalities in the room, including Aqib Talib and Von Miller and Chris Harris Jr., that Vance made more sense as a leader of men than Kyle Shanahan would.
Then why did John want to hire Mike Shanahan the next year after hiring Vance? See, there's no follow-up questions on Twitter.
So how much? All right. So who put the kibosh on this? Was it John Elway or was it Joe Ellis? A combination of the two. Who had more say?
I want to say John Elway wants to win. John Elway wants to go out there and win championships. That's why you compete. He wanted to hire Mike Shanahan. Somebody told him no. I'm curious if that same person told him he couldn't hire Kyle. I'm curious if that same person said, nope, Gary's got to go because Gary's bringing in people that we let go around here recently. I mean, I don't know why John Elway would, give up a pretty long and lengthy and close relationship with somebody that he's won championships with because of just ego, right? I mean, there's got to be so much more.
Okay, let's get into that a little bit more.
To a lot of reasons here.
Okay, because what you're saying then is that Joe Ellis is shutting all this stuff down, and I have a hard time buying that, and I'll explain why. And we'll also get your reaction to a lot of stuff going on. Nuggets and Michael Porter Jr., Nolan Arenado, whose side are you on? The Broncos, even the Avs at their All-Star break. Weigh in on the RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043. It's coming up next. let's say good morning to Brett Iverson from Ideal Home Loans. Folks to turn to for every single one of your mortgage needs. And it's New Year's resolution time, Brent, and I'm sure a lot of people want to get their finances in order for 2020.
Absolutely. A lot of people do, and that's a big goal for a lot of people, and we can help out with that goal.
Yeah, you guys make it easy, and you've got some new technology to help people along the way, right?
We do. We have a new application portal that makes it easier than ever to get a home loan with Ideal Home Loans. You can upload your documents, you can apply through this, you can communicate with your lending specialist. It's one of the best pieces of technology we've ever had. We're very excited, and we're getting rave reviews from our clients about how easy it is and how simple it makes the process and how it can make it quick as well. So to find out more and to take advantage of 30-year fixed rates at 3.75% with an APR of 3.918, call us today at 303-867-7000. That's 867-7000, or apply online at idealhomeloans.com.
Equal opportunity lender regulated by DORA, NMLS 136756. For terms and conditions, call 844-45-IDEAL.
All right, let's get to some of your texts here. Great listeners weighing in. A lot of stuff to talk about. Let's see. All of this Nolan talk makes a breakup seem inevitable, but what if Bridich loses his job instead of trading Nolan? It's from Ricky in Arvada. Yes, to me, that's the simplest solution here, is that if somebody has to go, let it be Jeff Bridich. What has Jeff Bridich done that makes him untouchable?
What would you say you do here
in this role? What if he has a beef with Nolan and he's the one that Nolan's ire is directed at, then remove the problem. Remove Bridich.
Well, I think it's how the Rockies have done business, though.
But there's a reason. There's an answer as to why that's not going to happen. But go ahead.
Well, of course. I mean, Nolan has come up through the Rockies system, and Troy Tulowitzki, Roberto Jimenez. I mentioned those guys earlier. They all have something in common. Matt Holliday. They all have something in common. You couldn't come to agreement with finances or whatever, but for whatever reason, all-time great Rockies got traded. Larry Walker a little bit different. Helton certainly different. His back, though, maybe they would have traded him if he was healthier, right? Who knows? But here you have Nolan, who clearly has established leverage, and the Rockies know that. So why are you, one, entertaining trades, because he can nix any trade that you come up with anyway, and then he's got to opt out. So to the texter's point, it is inevitable. Nolan will opt out because of how the Rockies do business. Mm-hmm. They're not in it to win it. Right. They're in it to sell out that party deck. They're in it to make sure they're in the top 5 or top 6 in terms of attendance at Coors Field. That's what they're in it for. They're not in it for the reasons why Nolan Arenado's in it, or a great player for that matter. The reason why you play the game, yeah, the money's awesome. It is. But that trophy, that ring, the T-shirt and a hat even. I mean, that's a championship. And that right there is legacy. I mean, money, sure, you can create whatever you want to create with the money. You can create your own legacy, be a good Samaritan if you want to with the money. But that legacy as being a champion, man, that is something that we all compete for.
The whole disrespected part. Now, first of all, Bridich isn't going anywhere because Dick Monfort is lockstep with Bridich, and the idea that how has Nolan been disrespected? He actually responded to a Rockies fan with an email saying, how have we disrespected him? We never went to arbitration with him. We gave him the highest annual per year contract in history. At the time, we even gave him a private plane to use for the All-Star game. Material things, mm-hmm. which you'd expect from somebody who puts more onus on a party deck than a pennant. But so, of course, he's not going to fire Jeff Bridich, because Jeff Bridich he's part of the Dan O'Dowd dynasty, the model that Dick Monfort has clearly been okay with because it's the only model they've known.
Right.
Dan O'Dowd and now Jeff Bridich, his chief lieutenant, taking over. So he's not going anywhere because Monfort supports the idea of trading Nolan Arenado. Why did they sign him in the first place?
Well, we'll see.
If they knew they weren't going to be all in on trying to do whatever's necessary to put a winner around Nolan, then they should have done what I advocated back 2 years ago. Trade him. If you're not going to sign him, trade him. And then even when they were getting ready to sign him, I said, okay, beware. This sounds great. And I was kind of the turd in the punch bowl when I said, look, this deal is awesome only if you continue to build. Only if you, and this is, remember, Kyle Freeland and Germán Marquez coming off big years. Only if you sign Marquez and Freeland to the deals that they deserve. Only if you sign Trevor Story to the deal he deserves. And now, fast forward to now, where they're quibbling over less than $1 million in arbitration. So, to me, Nolan, I am completely on the side of Nolan Arenado, because the Rockies have not held up their end of the bargain. And he has every right. I don't know if disrespected is probably the word he should have used, but
they're not taking him seriously.
I feel he could have come out and said, I feel like I've been misled. Misled would have been a great word. I feel like I've been misled, duped, whatever, because I was led to believe that you were going to continue to build, and instead I sat back like every other Rockies fan has sat back this year and watching your hold strategy of doing nothing.
Well, not only holding, but now you're entertaining trading when you can't trade me unless I say so. I mean, but go back.
That's the only reason.
Go back to your question.
That answers the question as to where all this trade talk has come from.
Sure, but go back.
Initiated by Nolan.
Well, I think so.
I want out.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I want out sooner than later. I mean, that is entirely possible, but it is inevitable that he will opt out. if the Rockies want to continue doing business this way. And now, is that disrespectful? Is that you're not taking me seriously? Because you just asked the question, why did Nolan sign this contract? Well, maybe the Rockies led him to believe that we were going to do everything possible to win a title.
Of course they did.
So I'm going to sign. The 260, I'm going to sign that. Even though I can go get 260. Yeah. I opt out at 30 years old. I can go get paid again. I know that. But no, I'm committed to the Rockies, and here's your timeline. You're not holding up your end of the bargain to this timeline because you're sitting on your hands after losing 91 games. I know, our rotation. Yeah, we had a down year there. But I know already we're going into the year needing more help in the bullpen and the back end. I mean, really, is Wade Davis our closer? I mean, we're going to win the NL West with Wade Davis as our closer. I mean, at this point, if you're Nolan, you're not saying that publicly. You're summing all that up, though, by saying I feel disrespected here. But that's just frustration to me. That's frustration at the fact that it is inevitable that I am parting ways with the Rockies. Because I've seen Tulo, I've seen it happen with him. I've seen it happen with Ubaldo. I've seen it happen, I heard about it certainly with Matt Holliday back in the day. But coming up through this organization, as I talk to other teammates, as I talk to other players, I know what's about to happen through the front office. And they're going to pit me, a guy who loves this game so much, and the fans can appreciate that. And I think Nolan plays the game the right way, and the fans appreciate it that way. They're going to try to pit me against the fans at some point and make me the bad guy.
Yep. But you know what? In this case, it's not going to work because the Rockies have built up such a negative perception, resume, whatever there's no goodwill in the bank when it comes to this franchise that will lead the public to thinking that they're right and Nolan's wrong. Okay, they have poisoned that kind of relationship. I mean, the whole "you got to trust the organization" mantra. I mean, that if there's a theme to the Rockies, it's like we're smarter than you are. We know what we're doing. And people have been turned off by that over the years, and rightly so. And so there's very little trust in the Rockies and Montford and the way they do business, that they're somehow in the right in this, and Nolan is the one in the wrong. Speaking of management, this is a little interesting switch here. So with the 49ers in the Super Bowl, naturally it comes up, wait a minute, you chose Vance Joseph over Kyle Shanahan. That's the headline.
It's mind-boggling.
I think it's a little bit more multi-layered than that, but the Broncos have already, tried to get the message out through some of their, I guess, mouthpieces in the media.
That's obvious.
That, hey, listen, there was a reason why we did this. It wasn't because we were afraid to give up power or anything like that, and ego. Their explanation is, at the time, they just felt that Vance Joseph would do a better job of handling the outsized personalities on that team, like Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. and guys like that, than Kyle Shanahan would. Nobody believes
Mike,
that.
I really don't care.
Nobody believes
First
that.
of all, I don't know what coach would have been able to handle all that, though.
Well, a first-time head coach especially.
Right.
So that explanation doesn't hold water with me. That spin. But what is the real reason that he wasn't here? Now, and it's interesting. Maybe this is truth, or maybe this is just Bronco fans who just want to go to whatever measure they have to not be critical of John Elway. But here's one. I see Pritch agrees with me. There's no chance Elway really wanted VJ over Kyle. This was all about Joe Ellis hating the Shanahans. Come on, this is the guy that talked Pat into firing Mike. Evans, don't try and pit this on Elway. Thank you, Pritch.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mike. How did John Elway know Vance Joseph? Through who?
I'm not sure.
Gary?
Oh, through Gary.
Okay.
Yeah. Threw me a trick question there.
Well,
I wasn't ready for that.
Kyle was around and has been around Mike, obviously, the football, and John has been around Mike for years. Quarterback's coach. Go back in time here. You go through Alex Gibbs. You go through all the familiarity that this organization had for decades, since the 80s. How does that all fall apart? Now, you can throw ego in there. Ego gets in the way of the reason why Gary Kubiak and John Elway had a falling out. Perhaps. Or back up to what you asked, the question, or what's out there that's been released. John Elway got blown away by Kyle Shanahan. Didn't hire him because they thought Vance Joseph would be able to handle the room or handle the locker room.
Good.
But 1 year later, he wanted to go to Mike Shanahan.
Yep.
What does that say about that? Like, I'm going to not hire Kyle, but then 1 year later, I want to hire Mike back? I mean, you kind of realize at that point that, man,
but you're painting a picture that
who's telling me not to hire these
But
people?
you're painting a picture that John Elway is being basically roadblocked or rebuffed at every turn by Joe Ellis.
Well,
that every move that John wants to make, Joe Ellis is squashing that. I can't believe that a guy like John Elway would tolerate that.
Well, what do you mean tolerate? What else can he do?
At every turn, you're telling me that, hey, I want to hire Kyle Shanahan, but Joe Ellis is like, nope, we're done with the Shanahan name in this building.
1 year later, I want to hire Mike.
There's a reason why we moved on in the first place from Mike.
Yeah.
We don't want to bring the Shanahan dynasty back into play here because I know that if we hire Kyle, we're also bringing in Mike. And then a year later, he puts the kibosh on hiring Mike that John wanted to do. So you're telling me that at every turn, John wanted to do this, but Joe Ellis is telling him no, and all these moves got shot down because of Joe Ellis and not John Elway? I have a hard time believing that.
You do? Well,
I do.
Well, let me help you.
I can't imagine that John Elway being John freaking Elway and the kind of power that he possesses in that building. Well, he's just going to meekly bow his head and say, "Okay, Mr. Ellis, I understand."
Let me help you.
And every move.
Let me help you. Let me help you because who was not on an interview with Vic Fangio? Who flew back to Denver when John Elway and company were in Chicago?
Joe Ellis.
Why was that? Do we know the reason why? Because he was on the other interviews, right? He flew out. They were all on the plane, but Joe Ellis flew back to Denver, and John Elway actually extended. They were supposed to fly back earlier. They liked each other so much they extended it. So that was John's hire. Vic Fangio certainly John's hire, but nobody was, overseeing it apparently until I don't know. Maybe you sign off on it when Vic Fangio comes here. John wants to win, and the only way that John has won is when Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak has been involved with the situation. And to me, it's like, why would ego get in the way of that? So John freaking Elway, right? Mm-hmm. John freaking Elway as a player took a back seat to Terrell Davis. John freaking Elway,
but he was still the quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
But it wasn't about him, though. It was more about, and Mike had to convince, okay, look, we got to run the football, and we got to win this game without John Elway being the key focal point.
Okay, but he's still the guy.
Well, okay, you get.
It's not like he's looking over his shoulder at Brian Greasy ready to take his spot or Bubby Brister.
But no, you take a back seat of that player that needs to help you win a Super Bowl. The offensive line, running game, and yeah, we can rely on your arm when we need it. But early on in John's career, that's what they leaned on. John, go out there and win the game for us. Go out there and pass the football. But as Mike came back and they established themselves in the 90s, it became about the running game. It became about everybody else and John Elway. Same thing with Peyton. Gary Kubiak was able to say, look, and John Elway even wanted that. Look, less reliability on Peyton Manning and his offense and all these 55 touchdowns when we just need to play better defense and run the football more.
But it's not like Peyton totally bought into that. He wasn't happy with it.
Sure, he wasn't happy, but he had to, and it led to a championship.
He's throwing 9 touchdowns and 17 picks by the time he got benched.
But whose ego? And the thing about that's what I'm saying. It's like John freaking Elway or whatever. But you let your ego go in order to win a championship because that's what's best for the team. Now you're going to tell me now it's all about John Elway only, and it's my way or the highway only, or is there other forces up there? I mean, you have to believe that there's other forces that's leading to the dysfunction right now with Broncos in the front office.
Let's keep talking about this. KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. I am doing question mark, Millennial Ben. Let's do question Pritch, presented by Breaks Plus. All right, I'm just going to follow right up on that line of discussion. Here's my question to you. Based on what kind of power Kyle Shanahan has in San Francisco, are you absolutely convinced he was asking for the same kind of power here when he interviewed with the Broncos?
I think any head coach wants to be involved with personnel decisions. You know, the whole Bill Parcells. Yeah, I want to go get the groceries. You know, if I'm going to coach them, I need to be able to shop. And any head coach will tell you that. I happen to play for Mike Holmgren. He was vice president and head coach at the time. But look what he did in Seattle. Now, when he let go of being a coach in Cleveland, it didn't work out from a front office standpoint, and he retired. But any coach, any head coach, they want to be involved in the process because these are the guys that you have to coach, right? And go back to the drafts. When the drafts got better here in Denver and Gary was in the front office, when you're drafting those type of players with an idea of an offense and an idea of a concept, well, Gary's supposed to be a part of that. Adam Schefter reported that Gary Kubiak is going to be offensive coordinator. Why did that fall apart? You drafted all these players for Gary to be involved with the offense, to call offense for these guys that you guys identified. You guys were at the Senior Bowl, working together, working and making sure you're drafting the right players. Why would that fall apart? Because it's John freaking Elway?
Again, more Joe Ellis overreach? You're talking about a guy who I know is powerful, but remember, he's not the owner. He's simply placed there by Pat Bowlen, by the trust, to oversee the Broncos in the transition to a permanent owner. And you're telling me that at every turn, he's the one making these decisions and not John Elway? See, I think you have to look at I think you're scapegoating completely John Elway's role.
I think you're misrepresenting what I'm saying. I'm saying there's forces involved here. Now, I'm not trying to scapegoat John Elway
but at
all.
the end, you're saying boil it all down. You're saying John Elway wanted to do this, but he wasn't allowed to because of who? What?
Well, why didn't John Elway do that? Why didn't he hire Mike Shanahan?
Well, okay, in that case, yes, I will agree with the idea by that point.
Why did decades-long relationship and somebody you won 3 championships with, why did that fall apart? Because of assistant coaches?
Well, if you listen to the Gary Kubiak side of it, there's a reason why the relationship with John is gone.
Because of assistant coaches.
Well, because of what Gary was led to believe was going to happen, then what ended up happening. Why is it that he's so upset with John?
You won 3 championships, and you were roommates with this guy. All of a sudden, you're going to blow up and divorce because of assistant coaches. There's other forces in that front office.
But if their relationship is so tight based on 3 decades worth, you're telling me that if John goes to Gary and says, I really wanted to do this, I wanted to bring you on, and I was okay with Rick Dennison and Brian Periani, but Joe Ellis told me I couldn't, you think that's gonna be enough to blow up the relationship and have the guys in Minnesota talking so badly about John?
You keep answering your question because you asked me, and I answered it, like, who stopped him from hiring Mike?
Joe Ellis did.
Okay, then. So John's just going to stop in his tracks. Oh, whoa. Even though I drafted these guys with you, Gary, and even though we've collaborated and we worked together because you want to bring on 2 assistants, you know what? Forget our relationship. I'm done with you. I mean, is it that easy?
I'm sorry, Pritch. I can't. So you're talking about 3 major decisions here. You're talking about the decision to hire Vance over Kyle.
Okay.
The decision not to bring back Mike.
1 year later.
And the decision to pass and move on from Gary. You're telling me in all 3 instances.
And hiring Vic Fangio without Joe Ellis being in Chicago.
You're telling me in all these instances, John Elway wanted to do this, but he was overruled by Joe Ellis and had to do that. I don't buy that.
So
I don't buy that.
You buy that John Elway's ego is getting in the way of all this.
No, not an ego's strong, but there is ego plays a role in it. Because
so what are you buying?
All right, let's go back to it then. Kyle Shanahan is interviewing for the job. Now remember, it is so important to think about context here. The Broncos are 1 year removed from winning a Super Bowl. John Elway is on top of the world. John Elway is on a fast track to being a Hall of Fame executive, joining his Hall of Fame player candidacy, right?
Okay. And how did he do that, by the way? He brought back Gary. Okay, continue.
Okay. So at that point, they do the interview with Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle's like, hey, listen, I really want this job, but here are some of the things I'm gonna need. I need to be sitting at the front table, the head table, when it comes to personnel decisions. I need to be able to hire my own coaches. I need to be able to hire my own general manager. Look at everything he got in San Francisco.
Right.
Okay? And it only makes sense that he would want those kind of things here in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole conversation about Kyle Shanahan would have taken the job if it was offered to him, I completely agree with that.
Okay.
But it was never offered to him.
Right.
Why wasn't it offered to him? It wasn't offered to him because the Broncos, and honestly, I can understand at the time why we're like, wait a minute. We're 1 year removed from winning a Super Bowl. We just won 9 games with Trevor Siemian as our quarterback. Why
9 times.
Why do we need to bring you in and all of a sudden start giving you the kind of power, which, by the way, the last time we gave a first-time coach this kind of power, it was Josh McDaniels. How did that work out for this franchise?
John wasn't.
I know, but you can understand why they would be reluctant to do all of that. So I don't think, right now, with the benefit of hindsight, coming off 4 straight years of missing the playoffs, 3 straight years below 500, it feels like there was a lot of ego involved. But I think you have to go back to the time and realize that where was there the motivation for John to say, yeah, we've got this model that's been in place that's been very successful, and now we're going to kind of really blow it up or tweak it dramatically to make allowances for you, Kyle Shanahan? No, we're not going to do that. That's why we're not going to offer you the job. We're instead going to go to a guy that I'm going to oversee in Vance Joseph.
But
I think that makes far more sense than yours.
But it makes sense for 1 year, because what would have happened if he would have been able to hire Mike then the following year? You don't think Mike wouldn't have all that power back? You don't think Mike wouldn't want to have say over coaches? You don't think John Elway would have been like, Mike, what do you need? What do you want? I mean, you are in charge. You're going to help me here. We're going to collaborate with personnel. He was ready to concede that by hiring Mike. So you're missing your own point. Yeah, okay, Kyle. I don't want to hire Kyle because he's want all this power, right? But 1 year later, I'm willing to give Mike Shanahan all that power.
But Mike Shanahan's a proven commodity.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan is not. And by the way,
how far
Kyle
from the tree is Kyle Shanahan going to fall?
Kyle Shanahan's first 2 years as head coach was actually worse than Vance Joseph's 2 years here.
Sure, I get that.
Okay,
I understand.
And for all the people,
it's mind-boggling.
I think it's funny because all the people are like, "Oh man, we could have had Kyle Shanahan." I promise you, because I know Broncos country. Had they hired Kyle Shanahan and he put up 2 years, what was he, 4-12 and 6-8, I think. Had he come out with those 2 years, people would have been like, he's not his old man.
It would have been the same.
Move on. This guy clearly wasn't ready to be. So there's a lot of revisionist history going on here when it comes to Kyle Shanahan.
But to stay on point
all right.
with the Kyle Shanahan thing, and, okay, all this power, and John is not going to give up all that power. I mean, you can believe that. But yet, the 1 year later, he was willing to give up that power because he wanted to hire Mike, who knew how to do things.
Well, we don't know for sure exactly what the power structure would have been. All we know is that he was interested.
Well, wait a minute.
I will give you this. I will definitely
You're talking
concede
about
that
a Hall of Fame coach.
He would have been allowed to have his own coaches. I know that.
Right.
But do you think that all of a sudden that when it comes to the draft, for example,
Mike would have been involved with the draft?
Mike would have been involved, but ultimately who would have had the final say?
Gary was involved with the draft.
Okay, and all right, so let's say
if he's willing to give Gary influence on the draft, why is he not willing to give anybody else like that?
Influence is a wonderful thing. It still comes down to who has the final say. That's what power is in the NFL. Okay? You can talk all you want, and I remember John always talking about consensus. Consensus is awesome if you can get consensus. What happens if you don't have consensus? What happens if you want that guy and I want this guy? Who gets the final say is all that matters.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you lose. I don't care who gets the final say. If you're losing, the final say doesn't mean squat.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
You still have the final say.
But you're going to get fired because you're losing. Or they're going to make changes because you're losing if you had an owner. Now, you look at the Broncos, they've had 3 losing seasons in a row, and I've always said this. It always starts at the top. If it was cohesive, I don't think the Broncos would have 3 losing seasons in a row. If it was an owner that's in place that has set the wheels in motion or has this process like the Broncos have had, the Broncos have lost their way. We know that. How did that happen? You can't piecemeal it back together. They're trying, but you have to be cohesive. And I know this about front offices. When there's dysfunction up there, and you do have egos that get involved, whether their side, the business side, the football side, or whatever, if you're not working together, your product on the field is going to stink. And that's what we've seen the last 3 years. So I can't pin it all on one person, even though I know a lot of people want to. John Elway is not equitable here either. He is involved in this process, and he has led the Broncos to this situation too. He's got his name on it. But it's more than John. To be this dysfunctional at this point and to think that, okay, now we've hit rock bottom and everything's going to be great. You're on your 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years. I mean, tell me that's not dysfunctional. So it's more than one person. It always is. And that's my whole point.
Okay, but you're by the way, your words are music to the texters' ears. They are loving what you're saying because they desperately want to believe that this is Joe Ellis's fault, not John Elway's fault.
Well, it's not just Joe Ellis's fault. It's not. It's the whole front office.
But again, it comes down to when you're talking about decisions of this magnitude, somebody has to have the final say. And what you're implying here is that John wanted to do one thing, but Joe Ellis wanted to go in a different direction, and it was Joe Ellis who got the final say.
Mike, who had the final say to not hire Mike Shanahan?
In this case, yes.
Okay, that's more than one case, though.
But you're saying all of them? All these cases?
I didn't say all of them.
Okay, then what about, then let's go back to what this whole discussion is
about. So go back
to
Gary.
No, let's go back to why Vance Joseph over Kyle Shanahan. What do you believe happened? Who do you believe ultimately made decision to go with Vance over Kyle?
Who do I believe?
Was the guy. Who made the decision? Who ordered the code red?
Man. I believe there's some influence to why John didn't hire Kyle. That's what I believe.
You believe John wanted to hire Kyle?
Why would you not hire the guy that how Mike worked? He worked with him for years. Like Kyle's going to be different than that? Kyle's the best play caller in the National Football League. You're going to pass over that for a guy that you think that you don't even know, by the way, that you think that can lead this locker room in Vance Joseph? You're going to pass over what Kyle Shanahan could be for somebody you think that can take command and take leadership in that locker room.
We didn't have great eyes.
Here's what works against your theory, is that if John Elway was willing to give Kyle Shanahan more of a say, hire all of his coaches, then John would be recognizing the importance of a coach to have that kind of responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why, in turning around and hiring Vance Joseph, did he immediately basically handpick Vance's staff for him? If he's saying, I understand that it's important that coaches have autonomy and be empowered, why then in his next move does he hire a coach in which he gives that coach none of that? And then, by the way, when he hires Vic Fangio as a first-time head coach, basically picks his offensive coordinator for him in that regard, to the point where 1 year later, Vic Fangio, who understands that, hey, my job may be on the line if I don't get to 9 wins and a wild card next year. Hey, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with an offensive coordinator I trust and respect. So see how it doesn't?
Well, no,
it doesn't fit.
I see what you're saying, but it fits because when you recognize, okay, you know what, Kyle Shanahan, man, my gosh, I probably should have hired him, but you didn't. So 1 year later, I'm going to bring back Mike. When you're thinking about that, when you're thinking about bringing back Mike Shanahan, you're thinking about bringing back what Mike Shanahan represents. He's going to help you, just like Gary did with the draft. He's going to help you evaluate talent. The attractive nature for Kyle Shanahan, not only his play calling ability, is that he's worked his way to a point where he does have respect in terms of evaluating players. I mean, people understand that about Kyle Shanahan. He's actually way in front of a lot of other coaches because he can evaluate. And ultimately, as a head coach, you want your own players. Vic Fangio, you think, okay, Rick Scangarello, you're our offensive coordinator. We drafted Noah Fant. I could have had Devin Bush. I mean, I don't know. Vic Fangio would have probably appreciated Devin Bush, a linebacker, with his defense, but I have an offensive coordinator that's not utilizing Noah Fant the right way. So, I mean, you have to come to grips with that, and part of it is the piecemeal approach from John Elway, and that's why I said he's not equitable, because it's like he's chasing it, right? He's trying to make up, or he's trying to duplicate this blueprint, but with clones, as opposed to the original pieces. The original pieces that he knows can accomplish something, which is a championship here in Denver, Colorado.
Texter says, Evans, your views that there's always one smoking gun, one person to blame, shows such a naivete to the complexities of the world. I think I've got a very clear view of the world. The world is about power. It's about having the power, and when you have the power, you don't want to give it up. Why? Come on, pay attention. Look around. Look around sports. Look at how often. Why is it in the NFL you see so many coaches get fired, but general managers continue to hold on to their jobs? Why is it?
Because the general managers are the ones that are firing the coaches.
But why aren't the general managers fired?
But some of these general managers are owners now. I mean, look at Jerry Jones. He's not going to fire himself, right?
Yeah, but that's the rarity.
But look at Cleveland. You have a situation out there. I mean, that general manager didn't fire that coach. That ownership fired that coach and then fired the GM. I mean,
but in New York, you got the Giants kept their general manager, but fired the coach Shermer.
Sure,
and went with a new guy.
No, it happens. I mean, general managers are going to fire coaches.
There's a reason why you have some coaches who are in demand who say, "Look, I'm only coming aboard there if I have complete say.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be able to shop for the groceries."
Right.
Why is that? Why is power that important? Power is important because you want to be able to control everything, but
you can't control everything.
But to say,
that's the whole thing.
But to say here that a guy like John Elway, there has to. You're telling me that I'm being naive, but you look at all the major decisions that this organization has made over the last handful of years.
Right. But
somebody has to wield the power.
Mike.
So who wields the power?
Mike.
And you're telling me that at every turn, John Elway wants to do one thing, but he's being overruled by Joe Ellis? I'm sorry, I don't buy that.
Well,
I mean, you may be right, but we disagree.
As a player, you have all the power as a quarterback on the field, right? Touch the ball every play. So if you're able as a player to understand, in order to win a championship, I have to give up that power to Terrell Davis and to the offensive line and to others. You're going to say as an executive, I can't give up that power, when in fact, recognizing 1 year in advance, Joseph, I need to give up that power and get some help with Mike Shanahan, but I can't do it. Like I said, John Elway is not acquitted here, but it's more than him. It has to be. I know how front offices work. It's not solely one person wielding the power card that's led to the dysfunction of the Broncos.
John Elway's had the chance to hire. His last two head coaches have both been first-time head coaches. Come on, that doesn't strike you as somebody
that he wants to control the
wants
the
to be able to control. That doesn't speak to somebody who wants a feeling of power and control.
Was he in control of Scangarello? Who fired who there? Was that the GM firing the offensive coordinator, or was that the head coach firing the offensive coordinator?
My read of that was John saying, "Oh, you feel that the issue with this team is the offensive coordinator? Okay, so there you go." And that's why when the firing of Scangarello was all Vic Fangio. John Elway was nowhere to be found. It was all Vic Fangio announced. And then when the hiring of Shermer came about, it was Vic Fangio announces. I think the message is quite clear. John's saying, okay, this is what you want. You put your name on it.
So he just gave up power then?
He gave up power in the sense that, okay, this is what you want, fine, I'll give it to you, but if it doesn't work out, I'm going to wield my power, and you're out. Well, I have no doubt. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me that Vic Fangio's coaching for his job next year? That if he doesn't get to 9 wins and a wild card, he's probably out?
You're always coaching for your job every year.
Okay.
Seriously.
But
I'm serious.
I
But
know,
I agree with you.
In this case, there's a mandate.
In this case, they both have 2 years. Like, I don't even know. Is Vic Fangio's contract 4 years?
Oh, geez.
Whatever. I mean,
I'm sure it's
But
four,
he is in lockstep with John Elway. When John Elway in 2 years, if he's no longer the GM, president of football operations / GM, okay, Vic Fangio's no longer a head coach here. I mean, I don't. You're talking about power. I don't know who the next GM would be, and okay, we're just gonna keep Vic Fangio in place, even though it's led to another losing seasons, or 4 losing seasons in a row now. So yeah, you're always coaching for your job. John Elway is performing for his job. You ask if he has ultimate power. You think he survives another year if he has another losing season?
John?
Yeah.
I think the only way that John's not going to be fired under his current contract. Now he may be demoted / promoted.
He might.
Hey, here you go. You're the president.
He might be Cora. Like, hey, we got to part ways. That kind of thing.
You're the president of the Denver Broncos.
Right. Yeah.
But you got no power.
Well,
that's the kind of thing. Now the new GM, the new coach / GM has all the power.
Well, the president will hire the GM though, so you still have power. President of football operations will hire the GM, so you still have power. But if he has another losing seasons, 4 losing seasons in a row, I just don't know how you go on that path as an organization. But believe me, when I say this, it's more than just one guy trying to wield a power card in that front office that has led to the demise of the Broncos right now.
As one texter says, good discussion today, guys. Really good stuff. You both make excellent points. Okay. But apparently a lot of you think Pritch makes better points. Fine.
You know what? I blame Johnny for this.
So
he got you in a mood.
You want
before the show
I was
started.
in a mood before the show. Good. You know what? That's a great tease. I'm going to explain you why I'm in a bit of a mood. Thanks to one of these top 20 rankings that we're putting out there for all of you to enjoy. We'll explain all that coming up next.